श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। नमः श्री शङ्करानन्दगुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने नमः श्री शङ्करानन्दगुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने सविलासमहामोहग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे सविलासमहामोहग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे। Then the teacher is winding up here. Swami Vidyaranya says, thinks this is enough of an explanation. Yadyad Rupadi, 23rd verse, Yadyad Rupadi kalpyeta buddhya tat prakashayan tasya tasya bhavet sakshi swatah vag buddhi agocharaha. So swatah means from its own standpoint. What is it? Vag agocharaha, buddhi agocharaha, vag buddhi agocharaha. Agocharaha means not caught, not grasped by vak, speech, buddhi, mind, buddhi, etc. So swatah means from its own standpoint. It doesn't have a name, it doesn't have a form, it cannot be an object. And most importantly, it need not be an object. Why? Because it is the self-evident you. It need not be objectified. It cannot be objectified. That's an important point. And it need not be objectified. That is another important, very important point. Because if I want to know it as an object and I am frustrated that I cannot know this Brahman as an object, then don't worry. Why? Because it is you. And you are what? Self-evident or an object? Self-evident. You are self-evident, and if you are self-evident, then you don't need to objectify yourself. You know who you are, at least you know you exist. Even though you don't know who you are, you know you exist. And if you know you exist, then the nature of that existence has to be studied about, but you don't have to objectify yourself to find out that you exist. Very simple. And so therefore, what is this Sakshi? This Sakshi, first of all, has no location. So many things about this Sakshi have so far been talked about. One is it's neither inside nor outside. It has no location. In fact, we can't even say it is everywhere because we get into a trouble we saw yesterday. So when we say it is nowhere, then we get into another trouble because we think it is non-existent. So it is existent, but then it is the author of space, author of time. So therefore it has no location. And so it is not in space. In fact, space is in Sakshi, time is in Sakshi. And so therefore, wherever it is, so there is the general presence, the existence of the Sakshi, but here it is not called Sakshi. That Sakshi talk also has to be dropped. Then when is it called Sakshi? It is called as witness when there is something at the other end to witness. So there is in this he already explained at length in the 8th chapter. So what happens is that there is a wall. He uses a brick wall metaphor, and on top of this wall there is a mirror. So there is a sun shining, and then in that sunshine you play with a mirror, and a little orb is there on the wall dancing. And then seeing the dancing orb, you get completely mesmerized by the dancing orb, and you forget one light which is there. What is that light? Sun. The sun is shining on the wall, and then what? The sun is making this mirror shine and dance. Because of the sunlight on the wall, you can even see the wall. Because of the sunlight on the mirror, you can even see this dancing orb. And then, so this is this is what is not understood. The invisible light of consciousness, which is not an object, which is you, is not seen as ever present, and we can't even call it illuminer. We have exhausted all the words now. Illuminer means it's doing a function. Revealer also we cannot say. Its nature is to reveal, its nature is to illumine, and this Sakshi, it's called Sakshi only in relation to what it illumines. Because I don't see the illuminer, I only see what? The illumined. Just like I miss the sunshine on the wall, what do I see? The little thing that is there, the dancing orb. I see movement, I see things that can be objectified. And so therefore, the Shastra is helpless. It has to catch you where you are. And where are you? You are catching the objects. So therefore, it is also catching the objects and saying in relation to the objects, identify as the witness. Then what does this person do? Catches hold of the witness, is unable to let go of the witness. This is what it is. So now the nature of the witness has been talked about here, that it is not really witness. Tasya tasya bhavet sakshi. It is a witness only in relation to what it is revealing. And you have a truck with what it is revealing. You are mesmerized by what it is revealing. So we say, don't get mesmerized by what it is revealing. Catch hold of the revealer. Swataha, from its own standpoint, vag buddhi agocharaha. It is beyond the mind, it is beyond the senses, it is beyond the buddhi. Beyond means it is not an object of these three things. So then the student here has a question. Okay. So the gurus also have prarabdha. Okay. So, because of the Guru's prarabdha, this kind of a question comes. Yeah, not the fault of the student at all. Okay, like even at the end of the Kena Upanishad, the whole Upanishad has been taught, and what does the fellow say? Upanishadam bho bruhi, oh sire, revered sir, please teach me the Upanishad. So this is somewhat, so that you are duly forewarned, this is this kind of a question. So then, because the last words were what? Vag buddhi agocharaha. It's beyond the mind, it's beyond words, etc. So then the student has a question in the first line. Let us chant. Katham tadring maya grahyah iti chetmaiva grihyatam sarvagrahopasamshantau swayamevavashishyate. So, the student asks a question, and the student has dozed off, beech mein, okay, in the middle. Yeah, and has not understood the full purport. Yeah, even if someone says, I have not dozed off, I am awake, but there are raga dveshas. This is the inhibitions. See, these kinds of verses show us, at the very end, show us that even after listening, these kinds of pratibandhas, obstacles to the learning remain. And what to do? He will in himself give in the next line. He will give the upaya. The remedy will be given in the next line itself. So first let us understand what is the student's difficulty here. So the student either dozed off or was MIA, missing in action, during the rest of the verses, and then only heard Vag Swataha Vag Buddhi Agocharaha. From its own standpoint, it is not, it is what? Vag Agocharaha, not subject to, what is that? Not subject to being objectified by speech or buddhi, intellect. That's all the person heard. All right. And then then what happens? Then the student has a very, what he or she thinks is a very important question. Katham tadrig maya grahyam. You are saying it's beyond the mind, it's beyond the words. How am I to grasp it? How am I to understand? How to experience Brahman? You are Brahman, you are experiencing Brahman even as you are asking me questions. Yeah, I know that, but how to really experience it specially as a separate thing, this is what I want. So, and what should the teacher have done here? Gone like that. Teacher doesn't go like that. In fact, from these teachers only we learn how to teach. Yeah, because the teachers know that it's not the student's fault that these questions keep remaining at the second last verse of the text. These questions remain because the knowledge is obfuscated. The ahankara, ahamvritti, is playing the role of a goalkeeper. What does the goalkeeper do? Make sure that the ball doesn't come in the court. So, offensive, defensive stands there. And so, what is the ball? Shastra. Shastra is the ball, and the ahankara, what does it do? No way you are getting past me. Over my dead body. I am going to defend everything. Why? Why are you making such a big deal? Why are you defending the Tattvamasi ball from reaching the Antahkarana? Why are you goalkeeping like this? Because I want to go goal, goal. Goal, goal means round, round and round. Because I am afraid of not mattering anymore. Before, at least, I was a little bit of a smatter, I mattered at least a little bit. I had a few things I called my own, I had possessions, I had all these things I called my own. Now what? I don't matter at all. After this Shastra comes and says, you are the truth of the Sakshi, you are everything, who will look at me? Nobody. Nobody. So sad. I'm not going to let this happen. Why? Because I matter. I need respect. I need importance. I need attention. I need to be noticed. I need to be loud. I need to make sure that I just, burden Mother Earth with my footsteps, so that each time I tread, Mother Earth goes, ah. I want to be noticed. I want to make a splash. I want to be important. And therefore I will show I have worked hard for all this. I have burnt the, candle on both ends and gained some importance, gained some name, gained some fame. I have pride in my achievements. What are your achievements? I can easily intimidate everybody. That is my best achievement. I have pride in my achievement. As soon as I walk into the room, everybody just cowers. I have pride in my achievements, and even other achievements I have. I am the CEO, I am this, I am that, I have achieved this, I have achieved that. And I have really worked hard to get all these things, and you, Shastra, Shruti, are not going to take it away from me. I'm not going to be decimated. I'm not going to be... you don't have to be decimated. You can be a servant of this knowledge. No, I don't want to be a servant. I'm the master. No, only by being the servant you will be the master. No! How to trust you? I don't trust you. Who are you? So, therefore what? Therefore, I'm going to reign supreme. And then what? If the Shastra comes saying you are supreme, I'm going to bat it off. Bat it off. Guard my territory. And what is your territory? A bunch of finite things, building upon some more finite things. An infinite number of finitude I have. And therefore what? I'm a infinite seeker. Not the seeker of the infinite. I'm an infinite seeker. And because I'm an infinite seeker, that means what? I'll keep on seeking, keep on shoring up all these things. I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor, I'm this, I'm that, and all these things. Titles, degrees, pedigrees, all these things. It's not enough that I have a pedigree. I have to put the dog also in the dog show. Yeah, dog show is not for the dog, okay? The dog doesn't care if it gets a certificate. If you show the dog the certificate, it will swaha, assimilate it. It doesn't care for it. It's all for the owner who feels I cannot get a certificate, so my extension, this little poodle, let it at least get a certificate, go around and get a certificate, I will feel good. That means what? The ahankara is miserable, but won't let go of its status. A little bit of attention, respect, whatever it is getting, whatever it thinks it's getting. Or even if it doesn't have respect or if it doesn't have accolades, it can still get attention. How? I am a victim. See? Nobody cares. Nobody loves me. Nobody gives me anything. This is what the sad, miserable ahankara is. And so the student here says, what does the student say? Tadrik, if it is like that only, if what you say is correct, that this is beyond the words, beyond the mind, then katham maya grahyam, how am I going to understand it, how to grasp it? If this is the question, iti chet, if this is your question, says the Guru, ma eva grihyatam. Please don't grasp anything more. Because this is not known by grasping. You have to unclutch. Don't clutch anymore. Keep unclutching. This clutching has got you into trouble. Your fingers have become like talons of an eagle. Clutching all the time, holding on to notions, holding on to some little frayed pieces of attention and respect. They are breadcrumbs. At the table that is Brahman, you're sitting and wanting breadcrumbs, when what you can do? You can have the whole feast. The whole feast is laid in front of you, but like a little doggy, you're sitting and then hoping somebody will give you a crumb. What misery this is. That too self-inflicted. Come sit at the table. No, I don't know, I'm suspicious. Because you say I'm invited to the feast. Yes, the whole feast is for you. From start to finish, from appetizer to dessert, it's all laid out. Come sit. Will I still get the crumbs? No buddhi. Buddhi has gone to graze in some pasture of the sense objects and it is refusing to come back. And so the teacher says, if this is the case, iti chet, if this is your question, please do not grasp. May no grasping be done by you. Instead, what should you do? Because he says, sarva graha upashantau. Shanti, shantau means when the cessation, Shanti here means cessation, stopping. When the cessation of all grasping takes place, Sarva graha. Graha means grasping. So, sarva graha upashantav, when all grasping has come to an end, then swayameva avishishyate. This thing that is to be known without name, without form, and which is you, which is not an object, when the grasping and the frenzied seeking and the collecting and all that, when it comes to an end, naturally what remains is you. You will understand yourself as the truth of the grasper, the truth of the one who feels incomplete, the truth of the one who always wants attention, the truth of the clingy one, the truth of the needy one, the truth of the clutching one is the non-clutching, non-needy, non-collecting, non-hoarding, non-demanding, non-subjective, meaning objective, you. That is you. Non-complaining, appreciative, non-critical, shanta, peaceful you. So therefore, this is the growth. When I let go of that demanding entity, then what obtains is the non-demanding me. The truth of me is naturally non-demanding. You said so, so I have to believe that? Shastra says so. I don't have to say so. And also, forget the Shastra. Do you like being demanding? No. If you say yes, see me after class. Okay? Do you like to be complaining all the time? No. So, therefore, that means it is in keeping with the human quest to be non-victimized, non-demanding, non-subjective, meaning objective, accommodative, compassionate, appreciative, non-complaining, appreciative person. To discover this person as me, what should I do? Drop all the opposites. Drop the complaining person. Next time you feel like complaining, go take a shower. Okay? Yeah. Simple. Take a shower. Some nice head massage, with a shower will take place, and then one will cool off. Non-critical. No, but this one is wrong and that one is wrong. Let them be wrong. Are you interested in correcting them? You are their mommy or daddy? No, keep quiet then. Yeah. Because in complaining, when we complain, you know what happens is that our wonderful energy is being drained in that area. Keep complaining all the time. Nothing happens to the object of complaint. Let's say so and so did such and such. Nothing happens to them. You are being drained. Do you want to do that? No. Do you want to be drained? No. And so, let all the grasping stop. Grasping for straws of approval, grasping for little pieces, breadcrumbs of validation, grasping for little threadbare cloth of appreciation. Stop it. Drop it. And when that is dropped, then naturally appreciative, non-demanding, non-complaining, accommodative, peaceful, limitless person as you shines. The student blinks. Okay? So, next one. Why to stop grasping is given here. Na tatra manapekshasti swaprakashaswarupatah tadrigvyutpatyapeksha chet shrutim pathaguror mukhat. Yeah. So, why can't I, why can't I know this truth of myself, this Brahman, this Paramatma as myself? Why can't I know it by grasping? The teacher says, na tatra, tatra means tasmin brahmani, in this Brahman, or tasmin atmani, in this Atma, in this I, that is described by the Shastras as the truth of the whole universe, as limitless, whole and free. In this, what happens? In this there is no pramana apeksha. Apeksha means dependency. This I is not dependent upon a pramana. Wait a minute, you're contradicting yourself. You said 5 pramanas and none of the means of knowledge are useful. Only the, what is that? This pramana, the 6th pramana in the form of words, Shabda pramana, has to come from the teacher, and that is what clinches the whole thing. And here the teacher is saying what? No pramana necessary. For what? Not to understand the self as whole, but to understand I exist. And I am away from everything else. I am unlike anything else. I am the only sentient thing in this whole universe. I have the power to name everything, from a lowly little microscopic entity, and that's why people name it after themselves. All the scientists who discover the bacteria under the microscope, they name it after themselves. Don't know if it's a good thing to be called a virus. So that's how to go down in history as a dangerous virus. I don't know if it's such a good idea, but anyhow. So the discoverer names it after her. It's named after the discoverer, and then what? From the lowly bacteria to the galaxy next to us. That also I have the power to name. It's called Andromeda. And it is coming closer and closer to the Milky Way. Oh no, what will happen? The bigger galaxy will do swaha to the smaller one. Oh, Milky Way is bigger, right? Wrong. The 2 black holes merge, and the wings are all wild. The wings of each of the galaxy also, they spin. First wildly out of control, and then finally they settle down. And then this is what it is. There's only one remaining. But until it comes, don't worry right now, it's not going to happen today. It will happen after several million years. And so, until that comes and swallows the Milky Way, I, sitting in the Milky Way, have the power to name that galaxy. Look at that. I have the ability to name all these various kinds of suns in the universe in different states of decline. Dwarf, yellow dwarf, red dwarf, blue dwarf. I have the ability to name. I have the ability to name planets. I have the ability to do all this. So, this namer, this powerful entity, I already am. Why? Not because I'm somebody important. I don't have to become important. I'm already important. I already matter, because without my cognizing something, that something cannot be means cannot exist outside of me. I am Sat. Everything is Mithya. So this is what I have to know. Even if the Shastra is not there, I can at least see that I am self-sentient. This much you don't need the Shastra to tell you you exist. Are you here? Let me see which page I am there. Which page tells me I am there? Which verse, can you please remind me? You ask your neighbor, which verse told me that I exist? You don't need to do that. So, na tatra manapeksha asti. What does the pramana do? The pramana has a dismissal. The shabda, the words of the teaching, has a dismissal role. A role of dismissing all kinds of notions that we have talked about at length. I am this much alone, I don't matter, I have to become secure, I have to become rich, I have to become important, I have to get attention, I am a victim, I am a perpetrator, I am an author, I am a karta, I am a bhokta. All these things, these notions are, to drop these notions, you need the Shastra. You don't need the Shastra to know you exist because you are not an object of grasping. The teacher says, you don't need to grasp. Because without grasping you are already there, and that's all you need to know. You don't need to grasp anything at all. Na tatra manapeksha asti. Why? Swata siddhatvat. Swata siddha rupatah. Because your rupa, your swarupa, your nature is swata siddha, self-established. It's not established by the pages of whatever we have studied. No. You are already a self-shining, self-evident, self-luminous, self-sentient being. Everything else borrows the light of sentience from you in order to shine. You are the original sentience because you are not dependent on anything else to be. And then the teacher says, it looks like the teacher is washing the hands of the student, but that's not quite it is. So, if you still continue, tadrik means in the previous manner. What was the previous manner? Grasping, graha. So, I want to grasp the self. Tadrik vyutpatti apeksha chet. Vyutpatti means you want to, this kind of a derivation of the Atma is desired. As what? As an object. If you still cannot let go of the object notion that I am an object and I have to be understood as an object, I have to grasp at something. If you cannot let go, then what? Shrutim patha. Please study the Shruti Guror Mukhat, directly from a teacher. So what were you doing all this time? Were you not teaching? Yes, but it hasn't worked. It doesn't appear to have worked, so perhaps, that means what? It's not that the teacher is washing the hands, the teacher is saying you need to study more. Shastram patha guror mukhat. From the words of the teacher, who is handling the pramana called Shabda Pramana, who is handling the means of knowledge which deploys itself in the form of words of the Shruti that dismiss the notion I'm small and I'm an idiot and all these things. So, because of that, you please study the Shastra because you haven't understood this. Therefore, what? You need to study more because there are inhibitory problems. There are problems. There are now two options. I can sit and cry about the problems. Why me? Why I have these problems? Or I can study. Everybody has some blocks, resistance, fears. And it takes some time for all of them to melt away. Frozen needs are there, fear is there, demanding something or the other is there, a sense of entitlement is there. I want this, I have to have this, I deserve this. All these, as long as they exist, the knowledge will not come. So that's why the question, even at the end, will come, I don't understand this, what are we talking about? How to grasp this? You don't grasp it, you let it catch you. You don't catch it. It cannot be caught, it has to be taught. So therefore, study properly under a teacher, meaning do more Shravanam. Because this kabhi kabhi, once in a while Vedanta doesn't work. You have to be at it. You have to be at it So that you can understand that oneness as you have to be at it. Because look at how many lifetimes you have gathered all these blocks. How many lifetimes has it taken to gather the resistance? How many lifetimes has it taken to become a very good goalkeeper? Shoo, 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 get away, get away, get away. So those orientations and those kinds of habits will not go immediately. It's like a sharp stone in the middle of, near the shore. Sharp stone is there. And the water crashes on it and crashes on it and crashes on it. You come back in 10 years, 15 years, all the angularities have been smoothed out. It is kind of resembling a Shivalinga. Doesn't happen overnight. The stone is hard, like one's personality. The water is soft, like the Shruti. Shruti is very soft. But the stone is no match against her power, because her power is the power of Ishvara. That is what it is. So, the water crashing against the stone, even a stone can lose its angularity, its sharp edges, and become a Shivalinga worthy of worship. What to talk of you, the sentient being? So I have to expose myself to the Shruti and let it operate upon me. And then, of course, on the side there is the lifestyle of stopping complaining, stopping feeling victimized. All these things one has to do to help oneself get ahead in this knowledge. That is what one has to do. Shastram patha guror mukhat. Then the last one. Yadi sarvagrahatyagaha अशक्यस्तर्हि ध्रियं व्रज अशक्यस्तर्हि धियं व्रज शरणं तदधीनोऽन्तः बहिर्वैशोऽनुभूयताम्. Yeah. Yadi. Yadi means if. Sarvagraha tyagaha. Tyagaha means letting go. If letting go of all kinds of grasping, or letting go, both things we can take, if letting go of grasping of the finite in order to become infinite, and if letting go of the grasping to what? To become to become somebody or the other, and to let go of grasping of Brahman as an object is beyond your capacity. You cannot do it. Okay? Ashakyaha asti. Ashakyaha asti means what? You are not able to do that. Tarhi, then dhiyam vraja. Dhiyam vraja sharanam. Dhiyam vraja sharanam. We have Sharanam is a lovely word. Refuge. Take refuge. And in the Buddhism they have this Sharanagati declaration. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Here, Buddhim Sharanam Gacchami. Not Buddha, but Buddhi. Take recourse to your own cognitive process. Hopefully you are a thinking being. You can reason, you can use a little bit of logic, help yourself. Why? Because you are refusing to learn from a guru. You say that does not help me. You are refusing to expose yourself to the means of knowledge. You are refusing to let go of grasping to make yourself infinite through grasping at straws. You cannot let go of grasping Brahman as an object. Then what? Take refuge in your own cognitive process. You are a reasonable human being. You can reason. So, reason a little bit here. Sharta dhiyam Sharanam vraja. Swadhiyam, your own dhiya, your own buddhi, sharanam vraja. Tad adhinaha means with the support of this cognitive process that you have learned from this chapter and a little bit of Vedanta that you might have exposed to. So, what have you learned? With its support, understand that whatever you experience, antarva, bahirva, vai, antarvai, bahirvai, whether you are experiencing something internal or whether you are experiencing something external, then it is you are not the experience, you are not the experiencer. What are you? Sakshi. In fact, you are the content of the Sakshi, the truth of the Sakshi. At least you help yourself with that. Because every time any kind of a situation is there, then the teacher, the teacher is asked for some practical tips. So here in the last two verses we have practical tips based on the person's preparation or the lack thereof. So first what? Stop grasping. Stop grasping, stop clutching. And stop clutching at everything including Brahman as an object. And then what was the second practical tip given? The second practical tip was to see the fact that your self-existence and your ability to just be without anything, any other props in the universe, that is in fact your nature. It's not depending on anything including pramana. You don't need a pramana to what? To make yourself evident. You are already self-evident. No, please know that you are unlike any other thing in the universe. Practical tip number 2. And if you are what? If you are still wanting to derive Brahman through some logical process, or if you are wanting to grasp at Brahman, you cannot unclutch, you cannot let go, then what? Please study this properly through submitting to a teacher. Take this knowledge seriously. There are many reasons why people go to a teacher. 1/10 of the reason is for the teaching. 9/10 is for other purposes. So, go to the teacher, ask for this knowledge with preparation, with humility, and study this. If you are really serious about this, study this. But then, if the student says, don't want to go to the teacher, don't want to study, can't let go, what to do? Take recourse in your own cognitive process. Identify as the witness whenever you want to identify as the victim or the doer. Identify instead as the witness and know that the witness, the content of the witness is supporting both aham vritti and idam vritti. So know that, and then so slowly you will get ready for this knowledge, and then you can go to the teacher, then you can study all this. Whenever we come to the end, we have to chant the first verse to show that the knowledge is always in a cycle. Paramatma dvayananda purnah purvam svamayaya स्वयमेव जगद्भूत्वा प्राविशज्जीवरूपतः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ